All right, so good morning, everyone. Obviously, there are people that joining in from across the world, so it might be morning for you, might be evening, might be afternoon, late afternoon, like myself here in Australia, where we have evening right now. My name is Athanasios. I'm a medical doctor. I'm an anatomist at Bonn University, and also I'm the CEO of a couple of startup immersive education companies such as 3D Organon. Today, I will demonstrate you how to deploy a VR curriculum using 3D Organon medical anatomy immersive education platform. So I'm moving on, and I will show you a short video. Just a minute. Let's start.
With education institutions globally adapting to multimodal learning, discover how to stage online virtual classrooms with 3D Organon. 3D Organon's multi-award-winning software platform facilitates accelerated learning and teaching in medical sciences and anatomy across desktop, mobile, and virtual reality devices. Enable your interstate and overseas students to experience the tangible benefits of immersive 3D technologies via online virtual classrooms, where anatomy is demonstrated live and students are able to explore with cross-platform device support. Off-classroom, students can access the whole database of 3D models, images, animations, and definitions on their own devices for self-directed study from home. The platform includes an extensive knowledge base of anatomical definitions available in multiple languages: English, traditional and simplified Chinese, German, Italian, Spanish, Georgian, Polish, Portuguese, Latin, Russian, Ukrainian, French, and Thai. Contact 3D Organon now.
All right, so what an exciting way to start a presentation. 3D Organon is a cutting-edge medical anatomy platform designed for virtual reality and for standard devices such as mobile phones, tablets, and Mac operating system computers and Windows operating system computers. So we cover pretty much the whole breadth and depth of solutions, technology solutions in the market. 3D Organon deployed in 2015. We have won a number of awards, and we've been supported by some of the greatest universities in the world. We delivered the first and the most advanced VR anatomy solution starting from 2016. We were the first in the market. We have a multimodal approach with 3D Organon. The whole content and the educational definitions for anatomy, they are created obviously by anatomy professionals and medical doctors. There are over 10,000 models deployed in 3D Organon, very high detail, and the whole content is original. We didn't use any models from other companies. Everything has been designed from scratch to reach the capacity of the quality we wanted to reach. And obviously we use a lot of research, anatomy education papers, cadaveric anatomy papers, discussing variations and normal anatomy to finalize our designs. 3D Organon is translated into 15 languages, the current edition, and the 2022 release, which is planned to happen very soon. It's going to have an additional language. It's going to have Dutch, so it's going to be 16 languages in total. So regarding the medical education, we have a huge transformation happening in front of our eyes, especially during the last year and a half with the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, the whole thing, it was tremendous for the universities. Who would expect it for the world's universities to be closed for a year and everyone teaching remotely? So we are going through a scientific and technological evolution. And although anatomy is a traditional and fundamental science in medicine, we know that it can be very challenging for students to understand, especially the students who don't have any biology background in their studies and they're entering medical school or physio or dentistry without any prior knowledge. Over the last 20-25 years, all universities undergo curricular transformations because there are more scientific disciplines entering into the sciences. And that has affected a 70% decline in teaching time. So whatever we do with our anatomy teaching has to be more efficient and has to facilitate students' requirements. Nowadays, universities adopt new educational resources. They use a lot of technology. Obviously, the cadaveric dissections and plastic models and plastination models are the foundation for a lot of our labs. No one denies that. But obviously, supplementing or sometimes replacing using 3D visualization methods, virtual reality, augmented reality, medical imaging, and simulation, all that these are favorable by our students, and it is essential for learning nowadays. So in the pandemic era, you see on the top left, our universities were closed. We were delivering remote sessions. That was devastating for all of us. But now the universities are opening up again. Students are coming back. Labs are opening up. Sometimes we need to use masks. In some other cases, we don't use masks. Depends on the university, depends on the vaccination policy. But we are very excited because our universities are opening up and our students are getting back to face-to-face teaching. So our solutions are accelerating the learning process by intuitive and future-proof software solutions. We provide superior visualization with 3D Organon. There are an array of tools to use to learn anatomy. Obviously, everything is translated accurately to lots of languages. We have a bone mapping tool where you can see different color maps for bones, attachments and borders and surfaces and so on. 3D Organon has a few cadaveric images within. There are drawing tools for two-dimensional drawing. There are 3D drawing tools like the one you see on the screen for 3D painting when you use a virtual reality headset. There are slicing tools to cut models into horizontal, transverse, coronal sections. And obviously our apps are available for mobile phones. We have a number of microscopic anatomy models that look like full thickness histology models. There are other tools for deploying like bony spurs, tumors, other effects on the model that help a lot with explaining features to students. We have an amazing body actions module that has over 550 animations. And in the new edition, the 2022 edition, we have refactored all animations with new models and way more efficient for smaller devices like your mobile phones. Also, we have augmented reality that you can deploy using a mobile phone. That's quite exciting. Students love this. That's a topographic anatomy mode on a tablet or on a PC computer. This is virtual reality, and we are the only ones that have a pass-through camera where you can see your students, and then you have the virtual reality superimposed onto the real environment. We support the best standalone VR headsets such as Oculus Quest and Focus 3. That's an example of how to use the 3D Organon in VR. Let me run this quickly a little bit to show you a couple of things. So this is an example of the vertebral column. So you can use the VR controllers and you can grab the bones, the vertebrae, and move them in 3D space. You can read about each vertebra, anatomical definitions. You can see the landmarks with color maps. Let me move on. This is the color maps for, the landmarks, the surfaces, the borders, the parts of the vertebra. Super detailed and very immersive. And it feels like a puzzle. So you can remove the structures and then you can put them back in place and snap into the original position. It helps with students immersing themselves and utilizing the whole body and soul to learn. All right, so moving on, this is an example of the microscopic anatomy module, and this is an example of a liver lobule. This, I always had issues explaining those models to students, especially with the plastic model. And with 3D Organon, it's so much more efficient. You can use those full thickness histology, microscopic anatomy models, and then you can visualize them in your phone or using virtual reality, even better. And it makes learning so much joyful. That's the model of the ear, which is astonishing. All right, so moving on. So 3D Organon, as I mentioned earlier, it is available for standard devices like your Windows and your Mac computers and smartphones and tablets, but also we support the majority of the virtual reality headsets. We support PC-powered virtual reality headsets. Those ones have the highest quality, but require a computer or a powerful laptop to deploy 3D Organon. But we also support cutting-edge standalone VR headsets, such as the Oculus Quest 2, and they recently launched the Focus 3 headset. The Focus 3 headset is launched by HTC, and it doesn't require a Facebook account to use, so it is more enterprise-ready, and it's going to be quite amazing when it starts to be released on the market in a great scale. There are a lot of different use cases where to deploy 3D Organon. The simplest method is just students using 3D Organon for self-learning study. They can do this with using their personal devices, or if this happens on a lab computer or an institution computer, they have the ability to mirror what they see on a screen, and then they can discuss this with other colleagues in a small group learning, such as in the case of number 2. For example, I have some of my students here using a big touch screen. They have deployed the desktop application, and they interact with a quiz. So there is a formative assessment embedded within 3D Organon, and they have deployed this. Another way you can use it is by deploying an educator-led large session, like a lecture, and the lecturer can use a VR headset in mixed reality mode if he wants or she wants to so you can see the students with a pass-through camera, and the students can observe through a big projector screen. Those are some other examples of VR labs. Those are from universities in Australia. They're the ones on the top left. And on the bottom, there are some universities from China. This is a cadaver lab, and the students use the virtual reality version of 3D Organon to, make a pre-read of anatomy before they actually dissect the cadaver. So it helps them to reinforce learning before they get to practice. 3D Organon has a multi-user cross-platform functionality embedded, which means that you can deploy a multi-user session with students joining from the same room or across the world. And then the educator is able to demonstrate specific models of anatomy. He can talk to the students. There can be exchange of messages, written messages, or they can, communicate with voice. It supports everything. It's very immersive and really exciting, and students can join with any device they have. So it is cross-platform 100%. I gave you the example of the VR labs. So nowadays, more and more universities and libraries deploy VR labs, virtual reality labs. And it's been very exciting because students love those labs. They come in small groups, and then they spend a few minutes learning anatomy. Then the next student comes in, and then they sit down, they discuss things together, they work some assignments, and so on. There are so many ways you can use those technologies. 3D Organon can be also used for patient education. So on the top here on the right, on the left, sorry, I have an example of a neurosurgery clinic in Taiwan, and the surgeon is demonstrating virtual reality through the multi-user mode to patients to explain what is going to happen in neurosurgery, spine surgery training. So it explains to patients what is going to happen, how the section is gonna be deployed during surgery, so a patient has an informed understanding about the operation. Also, 3D Organon can be used for surgical planning and training, advisory to the trainees. They can use 3D Organon to have a better understanding of a surgical area. This is quite useful for new resident doctors doing training in surgery, and they want a brush up in their anatomy. And also, I gave you the example of the university in Taiwan, where they use 3D Organon during cadaver labs. So that helps students to get prepared in an immersive environment before they touch the real cadaver, because the error margin is very limited when you work with the real specimens. 3D Organon has an amazing formative assessment module. It is really exciting because it is based on the USMLE style. So there are some vignettes and lead-in questions. There are a few options, but it's not a multiple choice test. So there are options there for students to see as a stimulus, but they need to identify the answer by making a virtual dissection and identifying the correct model to select within the app. Also, 3D Organon can be used as a brush up in anatomy in clinical skills, because clinical skills requires obviously in-depth knowledge of anatomy and surface anatomy knowledge. And it is always useful to deploy a 3D anatomy software during OSCE training for brushing up your anatomy and relationships between structures and so on. 3D Organon 2022 edition is going to be realized very soon. We are working hard to finalize the latest innovations within 3D Organon. The release is planned for the last quarter of 2021, starting by around the end of October, early November. We are going to deploy the new edition to various editions. We have a few new microscopic anatomy models. We have a multipolar neuron, very detailed model, very beautiful graphics. It will help students to understand how a multipolar neuron is being structured. We have a new beautiful model of a eukaryotic cell. All the detail you need to learn about a cell, it's there, and the students can help visually learn about things. We have a new eye model. There are over 97 different objects in the new eye model, very detailed. You can see the anterior chamber, everything, all the details you require to know for the anterior chamber, the arteries, the vessels, the veins, the cranial nerves within the orbit, everything is there. And we are very proud because we have a new ultrasound module that is going to be part of the 3D Organon without an additional cost. Learning virtual reality ultrasound, it's very important, especially for the future students, for the future doctors. We know that VR simulation is for decades it is mandatory in aviation training, and the same thing is happening with medicine. More and more doctors are doing simulation training before they deploy an actual practice like an operation or a skill to a real patient. And ultrasound training is really important because it's low cost and very practical. And especially when you do a fast ultrasound in the abdominal, in the abdomen, that is something that's going to be an accessory to the stethoscope very soon. So with ultrasound, you can visualize body tissues from very specific anatomical windows, how we call it. It's very picky to learn how to identify those anatomical windows. Students have tremendous difficulties understanding the structures using an ultrasound, a normal, I would say, ultrasound. And it's a bad idea to start using real devices to learn anatomy with an ultrasound. We are suggesting an alternative. We are suggesting the usage of virtual reality and 3D organon together with the ultrasound simulator. So the students have the capacity to visualize 3D organon. They have a clipping plane on the right where they can see the anatomical structures. And on the left side, there is the simulation window where they can see all the simulation view of the actual 3D model. All the the probes are there. There is a curved probe. There is a linear probe. There is a cardiac probe. All the 3 different probes you need to visualize anatomy, and everything is there. The vessels, the arteries, the organs. It's very easy to use and helps to release students, the capacity to identify and explore by themselves. It helps them to release and identify the structures without any fear that's gonna injure someone or evoke any pain to a patient and things like that, because everything uses a virtual reality headset. And the cost is very low because essentially it is part of 3D organon. You don't need to spend thousands and thousands for specialized VR simulation modules or devices and things like that. It is bringing the cost down tremendously. We ask you to join 3D organon. We have an amazing sales team. They can show you how to deploy your VR curriculum. 3D organon has been used by over 200 universities worldwide across all countries, some of the best universities in the world, but also emerging universities, emerging into immersive technologies. They deploy 3D organon to teach students. So I would like to thank you for your attendance. We have a little, before we get to the QA, we have a little quiz, like a sort of survey thing. Maybe we can start with the survey for 2 or 3 minutes, and then maybe we can start a QA process where you can ask questions. All right, so the first question is about the use of digital anatomy solutions in your teaching. Do you use anything? Do you use any VR or 3D or other digital solutions to teach your students? All right, maybe we can move on to the next question. All right, so if you can select which solutions you are using. Are you using mobile phones and tablets? Do you use a web application, a virtual reality, an augmented reality? Are you using any DICOM medical imaging viewers in your teaching? Just to give us an idea what you want, because the more we know about your needs, the more specialized solutions we can provide. All right, maybe we can move on to the next question. All right, so the next question is, do you use any digital software solution to demonstrate microscopic anatomy models? I'm talking about digital histology 3D models. All right, so let's move on to the next question. Do you believe immersive technologies such as virtual and augmented reality are a great fit for practical sessions? I think everyone agrees on that, that technology is a good idea to be used in anatomy. All right, so maybe let's move on to the next one, and we are about to finish very soon, and we go to the actual QA part. All right, so in your view, what are the main benefits of virtual and augmented reality to teach anatomical sciences? Do you think that the students save time and learn faster? Do you think that students can understand the relationships between structures better? Do you think that these help students focus on learning tasks? Do you think that students enjoy learning in a gamified environment? Do you feel that it has a high-pitch marketing effect in your institution? Because there are, it's been quite attractive to use those technologies to promote your work and your institution. Or do you think it's the best alternative to cadaveric-based teaching? All right, I think we can close that one. I think, have we finished maybe? Yeah, let's move on. All right, which is the main reason you don't use virtual reality solutions in your teaching? Do you believe that is expensive? Do you believe that has limited functionality? Are you afraid of technology? Do you think that you need a lot of training that you don't have available? Are you reluctant to change your current teaching style? Or you feel another reason? Maybe you want to type in about that and let us know in written. It seems that many of you believe that it is expensive, but it is not, because it saves you. Our team can explain you some business models about the cost efficiency and how much you save using those technologies, because essentially you save from spending hours and hours to show the students the same things again and again. So you can focus on the important elements of teaching, and then the students can do the rest by themselves. All right, so Sahil, can we move on? Is there another question before we move to the QA? All right, so probably this is the last one. So would you consider using an ultrasound simulator on virtual reality to teach anatomy? Okay, it seems that everyone is very bullish about the use of ultrasound simulation, and I am myself, I'm very excited and very proud of the ultrasound simulation we provided. All right, so let's move on. I think we are done with the poll questions.
Yes, you can move on.
Yeah, I think we finished with the poll. Yeah, let's close this. All right, I think we are good. Thank you so much for your participation. Your feedback is really highly regarded, and it's something that we need to streamline our solutions. Let's now get to the QA part. I'm happy to respond to your questions. If you have any queries, if there is something unclear, I'm more than happy to explain you. All right, so I have a question. Do you have plans to branch into other areas of VR, such as clinical skills or virtual patients? No, we don't have a plan to go to the simulation, to the patient simulation, like OSCE training and things like that. But we are going to simulating ultrasound and medical imaging. this is our main focus: the ultrasound and medical imaging modalities, MRIs and CT visualizations in virtual reality, and on other platforms. That's going to be the focus for these years. For patient education, I think there are other solutions already on the market. There are some really good companies out there that could be used, and they are very, they are very high profile in terms of quality. Okay, so let me get to the other question. Someone gave me a suggestion, I think Karena, for question 5. She thinks that it can, it can facilitate learners to learn at their own pace. That's absolutely correct. You can use immersive technologies and you can learn at your own pace, at your own time. Everyone is different in terms of learning. Every learner is different. Regarding the presentation, it's going to be available on AMEE. When we wrap up the discussion, everything is going to be uploaded. Regarding, I have a question from Dr. Patnaik. So how many students can use this app at the same time? The multi-user session in the app can allow up to 70, maybe 80 students join a single room when we use the multi-user module. When it comes to using the device at home or using your personal devices, there is no limitation at all. The students can download 3D Organon. They can use an institution SIT license access code, and they can use the app from home or on the go, or in another scenario, in a small group learning case, they can use their own devices. Regarding multi-user, there are different tiers for licensing options, but the module can easily allow 80 students to join in. And it might be cases there will be more, because it is all about the audio streaming. So if you have a lot of people talking simultaneously, then the bandwidth requirements are different. But if it is mainly the teacher explaining and then one by one students asking questions, which is the typical way to communicate information and questions, then you can have maybe 100, maybe more. All right, so any other questions? Thank you, Patnaik. I mean, feel free, ask anything that comes into your mind. I'm happy to facilitate and give you an answer out of my experience and my insight on 3D Organon.
Hello.
I have a question. Yeah.
Yeah, Ratapon from Bangkok, Thailand. Hello. Thank you for your presentation. It's very, very interesting. I would like to ask whether this program need to like a maintenance or any upgrade in the future after using it.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to let you know that 3D Organon is translated into Thai. And it is translated by an anatomist with international experience. So someone who is mastering the international anatomical terminology and the Thai terminology for all levels of education, which is quite interesting because you can learn anatomy at your own language and you don't just simply use a solution that is designed for English learners. And the 3D Organon gets updates on a very frequent basis. So all the updates are automated. For example, when you deploy the app, every time the system is checking if there is any changes in the if there are any changes on the language files. So if there is any adjustments on the language, Thai language or any other language, there is a little file that's been downloaded, and then you get the latest and greatest in terms of definitions and language, because anatomy is a descriptive science and you need you need to be accurate and precise in what you deliver to students. And regarding software updates, We deploy frequent updates through the online stores where 3D Organon can be found. And those updates usually are automated, or depending on the settings you have in your device. You can adjust your settings to receive any updates automatically. In general, in terms of planning, we deploy a new version every year. Usually, the period is the fourth quarter of each year. So it's around October, November, depending on the platform. Because we start with PC computers, and then we move on to mobile devices, and then virtual reality. Obviously, that takes a while to finish up because it's a lot of different platforms. We support a lot of operating systems. So yeah, there are updates that go on a frequent basis related to the files for translations, and then the software updates, they go on a regular basis every few months. There is another question about the support system in 3D Organon. We have a great sales team and support team. We have lots of different materials to share with the professors and educators. There are some manuals that explain in detail how to use the software. But to our enterprise clients, we provide one-to-one teaching time to explain them, training time to explain them how to use 3D Organon. And we have a very good turnover in our email response time. And we respond to most of the questions we receive by email within hours. Obviously, on the weekends, we don't respond to questions, but on the weekdays, we respond within hours because we have teams in the Northern Hemisphere and team on the Southern Hemisphere, so we can pick up all the variations of time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raikos. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have any distributor in Bangkok, in Thailand?
No, I think we have someone, but I think you need to contact our pro support team to give you more details. Let me go to the end of the presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can contact them at pro support. I think we have someone.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. I think it's time to wrap up the meeting. Is anything else we need to add before we finish? Any other question? All right. Thank you so much for your attendance, and the presentation will be available through AMEE through their distribution system. I hope everyone enjoy the Sunday. It's going to be really exciting with the 2021 AMEE conference. Thank you.